Hello, hockey fans. My name is David. Thought I would start recording this message on 4/11 on the afternoon of Monday, 2nd of May, 2022, North American Eastern Time. Thought I would do is to to really get to the heart of. All right, let's talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs of the NHL. So, first, I'm going to start off with the teams from Canada that disappointed me. Keep in mind that during the 2020-21 season, all 7 Canadian teams, well, i.e. the Habs, Sens, Leafs, Jets, Flames, Oilers, and Canucks, were facing so-called North Division, also known as the All-Canadian Division. So from teams from that division, from former North Division teams, this season, the 2 Alberta teams and the Leafs made the Stanley Cup playoffs. The others did not. So in terms of least disappointing to most disappointing, I have to say probably the least disappointing of the 4 teams that didn't qualify for the Stanley Cup playoffs was, well, I'd say probably the Ottawa Senators. Sure, the Senators, probably finished with a worse average points per game this season than last. But the result was still the same. They missed the playoffs. Just this time, they did it by a country mile with more teams. With more games they had to play against more teams, and they just didn't do very well. So, the second most disappointing, I'd say, is the Canucks. Yeah, I predicted. I figured, going into the regular season, this current season, that with Jim Benning, who knew how well the Canucks would do. Well, they didn't start off too well, averaging just 0.72 points over each of their first 25 games via an 8-15, 1-1 win, regulation loss, overtime loss, shootout loss record. So, see anything familiar, Leaf fans? I'm a fan of the Leafs, so remember, the Leafs, under Sheldon Keefe, made a coaching change, despite having earned proportionately more points in fewer games. 22 over 23 during the 2019-20 season. Leafs made the postseason. Well, they kind of unusual COVID bubble. There was a so-called quarterfinal qualification round. Some may say, "Oh, that's not a playoff round." Others say it was. Wikipedia put it as a playoff round, so it didn't really matter. Either way, the Leafs did not win in whatever opening round for which they qualified, and playoff series win drought at that point had hit 16 seasons. Blue Jackets end up beating the Leafs in the Toronto bubble 3-2 in a best of 5. So, of course, the Canucks did not miss the postseason, but again, it's how they did. They came so close, but ultimately the gap was not where they ended up being. So the second most disappointing, I have to say, is the Habs. I'm thinking, why aren't you putting them first, David? Well, for me, because during the offseason there were a bunch of moves that were made that definitely made the team weaker. The only question was going to be how much weaker the team would end up being. So, yeah, didn't think they would be, end up like at the bottom of the NHL or so, but they did. With a coaching change made in February, not exactly improving the standing of the Habs that much. And well, yeah, so under Marty St. Louis, a former Tampa Bay Lightning forward, or winger more specifically, the Habs did better. They had a higher average points per game than under Dom Ducharme. With Ducharme having been fired in February after a dreadful start of the season, 8 wins, was it? 8 wins and 23 points over 45 games. It was pretty bad. Now I'm going to get to the most disappointing of those Canadian teams that did not make the Stanley Cup playoffs this season. And I would say the Winnipeg Jets. Looking good on paper, but, well, I think of the big names: Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Dom Toninato. I think of any others here. Connor Hellebuck, Eric Comrie. I'd have to say that even with Hellebuck and Comrie, the Jets just couldn't get it done. Offense didn't execute enough games. There were definitely some blowouts. And then there was also the lack of effective scoring. Defense was a problem. Effective scoring was a problem. I mean, yeah, there were some games, such as, Colorado won, which was one against the Habs, which the Jets went up 3-0 and ended up losing 6-3. Sound familiar, Leafs fans? There was a similar result my hometown Leafs had against the Rangers in January. But it was up 3-1 as opposed to 3-0. Then against Carolina Hurricanes, it was a 2-0 one. Then it was a 4-2 loss. Yeah, blown leads. And overall, the Jets didn't do very well against Eastern Conference teams, even though the Leafs did remarkably well against Western Conference ones. Leafs among those that, qualified for playoff spots. So Jets didn't do very well against Eastern teams that qualified for playoff spots. Leafs did well against Western Conference teams that did. So against opposite conferences, well, the Jets could have earned, up 9 more points or so in order to get in to a playoff spot. Against Eastern teams, nope, they didn't do that. So now I'm going to get to my predictions for playoff success among the Canadian teams. We're going to start with the Calgary Flames. Coming off a season in which they ended up not doing remarkably well. Went on a 10 game heater in February after particularly after the All-Star, starting before the All-Star break. The Leafs struggled after the All-Star break, but before the trade deadline. But went on a heater in April and clinched home ice advantage. The Flames clinched number 1 in the Pacific. Yes, I don't want to count out the Dallas Stars being in the first wildcard spot. Yes, there have been wildcard teams that have upset division leaders. But the Stars limped in. They kind of inconsistent. So I'd say I give the advantage to the Flames, even though I won't count out the Stars just yet. I mean, I kind of knew, kind of firming up a little bit in the West Conference, that was going to be a team based in the U.S. South, the Calgary Flames would face. The only question was going to be, in the final few days of this regular season, whether that would be the Predators, based in North Tennessee, or Dallas Stars, based in the northeast of Texas. Turned out to be in Texas. I know that Mark of Wolters World has a video about, or at least one video about traveling through the United States South. Southern hospitality and how good it supposedly is. I'm not going to get into that too much. Just really that in the U.S., the U.S. South, you're going to get some, maybe Calgary Flames will have some Texas barbecue when they're down there. Authentic barbecue. Gotta try that out. I have yet to visit Texas and probably won't. So yeah, good to try that good old Texas Q. So now I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers. Going to be facing the LA Kings. Both teams have a lot to prove, having had playoff series win droughts that extend to before COVID hit the Americas hard and fast. So basically, when it comes to that, it's pretty not too good. So I'd say that the series between the Oilers and the Kings could go either way. I don't want to count out Jonathan Quick or the Cam Peterson stealing that series. But again, the Kings aren't the Lightning. The Kings aren't even a defending conference finalist. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to say that the Oilers will necessarily be able to steamroll over the Kings, but I predict that series is going to go at least 5 games. And either team ending up winning it. I know that Canuck Clay, in a video that he released hours ago, real name Clay Imu, claimed that the Oilers would win. I'm not so sure. We'll see what happens if the Oilers can put out more than the McDavid and Draisaitl show. And now, we'll focus probably most of the rest of this video on my hometown Leafs. And whether I give the Leafs, benefit of the doubt, or whether, I'll be prepared to be disappointed again. Historically, Since the best 7 series format was made widespread in the NHL for the 1987 Stanley Cup playoffs, the Leafs have won 11 of 12 of those series that they've ended up winning in not less than 6 games. The only series I could find having been a sweep of the Ottawa Senators in 2001. So basically, when it comes to series win, I'd say if the Leafs end up being the Tampa Bay Lightning in that 2022 playoff series, it's going to take at least 6 games to do it. And that is if the Bolts end up neither having amassed at one point in that series a 3-0 or 3-1 series lead. So, but what if the series goes not more than 5 games, the Bullets have amassed a 3-0 series lead, or have amassed a 3-1 series lead? If any of those last 3 scenarios applies, I predict the Lightning will beat the Leafs and will continue to have the chance of defending, of being the defending Stanley Cup champions going into next season. So, it's time for key players in the Leafs, among them Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, to start producing. But hopefully it won't matter where the goals come from. It'll matter that those goals are scored in a timely way, the defense is solid, and that Jack Campbell will perform in net the way he did throughout most of April. Because Leafs don't have very thick goaltending depth. Okay. Facing the defending Stanley Cup champions, why get rid of Kyle Dubas or Brendan Shanahan as GM or president if Leafs lose this series? Well, it's real simple. One team in the NHL that qualifies for Stanley Cup playoffs must face the defending Stanley Cup champions, provided the defending Stanley Cup champions make it into the playoffs during a given season. The Lightning did, and the Leafs just happen to be there. So it's going to be a huge measuring stick. The Leafs fail, and I see big changes as being necessary, at least to the roster and the front office. And to Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, ownership group of the Leafs and Raptors, I say this. Members of the board of directors, if Leafs lose, you have a choice to make. I have presented on Twitter and YouTube cogent arguments as to why Dubas and Shanahan will need to be canned if this team fails again. Dubas authorized the overpayments of those 3 forwards, Tavares, Marner, and Matthews. $10 million apiece. That should not have happened. And Logic 101 says this: if something's not working, you fix it. And it's clear, MLSE board members, it will have become clear that the roster will need fixing, and that Dubas will not be the man to do it, and that Shanahan will not be the man to oversee it if this team chokes again. It's been 5 postseason appearances, no playoff series wins. Hopefully, they'll be sixth time lucky, but if it's not, there'll have to be big changes. And every member of the board of directors of MLSE, you don't fire Dubas and Shanahan soon after that first-round exit, every one of you will be complicit in repeated first-round exits. Mark my words. Anyway, go Leafs, go.